I think things are going to get crazy in places like New York and California in the next couple of years. And I
Yeah,
think
me
that
too.
people need to really like understand we're probably heading into some dark times for real estate investors. But inside dark times, you can do well for yourself, but you just have to know there's probably a lot of curveballs coming.
Yeah. I think a lot of the resentment as some, and this is my viewpoint as someone who's living overseas for over 6 months out of the year. The 183-day rule,
Yeah.
for example. So I technically, I am overseas. It's not just 183-day rule for tax purposes, but also my immigration and stuff into Germany. So think about it. And I know I'm sounding redundant here, but I don't think a lot of high income earners would be as angry to flee California if they saw when they're on Sunset Boulevard outside of Sunset and La Brea,
Yep.
they see a Ralph's.
I live right around the corner from there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you think about the level of homelessness that people are, the encampments or whatever, on the street, I mean, come on, man. And you're paying high taxes, and you can't even go to the grocery store, buy a bag of popcorn without seeing all of this stuff. It's just, you don't feel safe, and even not even that one. You go to a Ralph's in another part of the city. You see, it's just nonstop. You go to a gas station, you go to a community event.
Yeah, they're doing these follow home robberies now where they're literally like, oh, the guy's got a G63, follow him home in his G-Wagon, have him go in his house with him. Like, it's a very public thing. They're doing these follow home robberies now. So it's like in LA, it's the cost of getting busted for a crime doesn't match the upside of committing the crime. And so people are just like, okay, no downside risk.
I will say this much. If you're a high income person living in California, if I were living in Los Angeles, and I would not live in Los Angeles, I lived in Malibu for a year. But if I were to live in Los Angeles and I was a high income earner, I would not drive a fancy car. I would drive like a two-year-old Prius or something, or a Tesla or something.
Little Honda Pilot or some whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear a fancy. I wouldn't wear a watch. If I did, it'd be like a G-Shock or something. Like it would. I wouldn't show off. I think some of these guys draw attention to themselves.
Yeah, in a place like LA.
Yeah, I never felt the need to really show off. Initially, when I started making money, I did. I think I wanted it, but it didn't really bring me much happiness. You sort of like when you're a young kid, you get a toy, you want to play with it. And after a while, it's sort of like, all right,
Yeah.
you just get bored.
Yep.
It's not, and it's the fact that I save money it's not because I'm frugal. It's because it just doesn't bring me much happiness to spend. So I think some guys who are successful, I'm sure you know quite a bit. I don't think it's necessarily guys aren't. I don't think it's necessarily that the guys are cheap or they're frugal. I think it doesn't do anything for them.
Yeah.
Whether the money's in the bank or the money's in a car or the money's in some jewelry, it really doesn't do. Like, I really get more, and that sounds fucking cliche, and I understand I sound like a fucking cliche, but I get more happiness from my relationships, taking care of my health now, because I wasn't eating right for a while.
Yeah, same here.
And I want to just be there for my daughter, my wife, and my family, and other things bring me way more happiness than just going right now and jumping, a private jet or something. I'm not saying I don't like to do it at all, but it doesn't really move my needle when it comes to happiness. And you never know what's going to happen next day.
What was the crossing point for that? Like, at one point you were probably really the opposite of this position. At what point did it get to where you are now? Was there like a certain moment where it just kind of like you went through this shift?
I think I had a situation with my health where it scared me straight. It was like walking with, for the idea of like, I'm not here. And I think at that point I realized much more what's really important. And one is, taking care of myself, not eating so much processed food, fried food, white sugar, chemicals. Sugary drinks are even probably worse than the actual Snicker bar because of how it affects your body. Now I'm sober completely. Not that I was, drinking that much before, but I quit that. And life's much more fragile. And then also when I thought about, for example, having a daughter, having a wife, and then also looking at my parents and thinking, okay, well, they're fine today. In 10 years from now, maybe they won't be. Maybe in 20 years from now, they won't be. Who will be there for them? Who's going to be there for my daughter if I were to pass away today?
Yeah.
That fear of who's going to be there for my daughter if I were to pass away right now is it's like the one thing I want the most in the world is to be there when my daughter gets married.
If you've enjoyed this clip and you'd like to watch the full episode, you can do so on my main YouTube channel by clicking the video here.